Today's lesson is solving quadratic equations. Okay, so first thing is that we should talk about what the difference between an expression and an equation is. So an expression could be something like x squared minus 9, okay, versus an equation has an equal sign in it and two sides. Okay, so that's the difference between an expression and an equation. An equation has an equal sign. Okay, so example 1. M squared plus 3m minus 40 equals 0. Okay, so do you recognize this style? It would be a simple trinomial. So how do we factor simple trinomials? M and m, that's first times first. And then outside, inside, need to make a 3, and they have to times to be negative 40. So 8 and 5, and I need a negative. So one of them is negative, positive 8, negative 5, because that adds to negative, or to positive 3. That's going to equal 0. So how do you ever multiply something to make 0? So in order to do that, so like for instance, 6 times 0 is 0, right? Or 0 times 10 is 0. In other words, in order to multiply to 0, one number, at least one number, has to be 0. So if this was 0, okay, in other words, if that bracket was 0, m would have to be negative 8. Okay? If this bracket was 0, then m would have to be positive 5. So that is the solution for this equation. And you can even go back here and try it into your whole equation and it should work. So let's do that. So if we did something like this, 5 squared plus 3 times 5 minus 40. So 25 plus 15 minus 40. 25 plus 15 is 40. Minus 40 equals 0. So it worked. Example 2, m squared minus 49 equals 0. Okay, so on this one, I recognize this style of factoring. It's a difference of squares. So two brackets, m and m make my m squared. And last need to make 49. 7 and 7. One is positive, one is negative. Therefore, that's why I don't have a middle term. Equals 0. So in this bracket, if you want that bracket to be 0, m would have to be a negative 7, because negative 7 plus 7. And in this bracket, if you want that to be 0, m would have to be a positive 7, minus 7. Okay, next, let's go x squared minus 5x equals 0. Okay, so what style of factoring does this look like? GCF. So what can I divide out of every single term? I can take out an x. Okay, so if this gets divided by x, then you would have an x. If this gets divided by x, you would have a minus 5. Okay, so here, I'm considering these two x's, so what would that x have to be if you wanted this to multiply to 0? It would be 0. If x was 0, it'd be 0 times whatever number that would be. And in here, x would have to be a positive 5, because 5 subtract 5 would be your 0. Okay, example, let's do 3y squared plus 8y plus 5. Okay, so what style is this? This would be complex trinomial. So I'm going to do that and then get a 15. Okay, so 1, 15, 3, and 5. I'm looking to get a middle term of 8. So how do I get the 3? I could go 1 times 3. How do I get a 5? 1 times 5. So not many options. I know what I'm picking, but I got a group to get a 3 and a 5. So that's how I get my 3. And pairing that gets me a 5. So in my brackets, this is a 1y and a 3y. My pair-ups, the 1 goes with a 5. So that's 5y. The 3 goes with a 1. So that's 3y, and I want everything positive, positive. Okay, so in this bracket, if I want y plus 1 to equal 0, y would have to be negative 1. And in this bracket, if I wanted 3y plus 5 to equal 0, I would move that over and then divide by 3. So y would have to equal negative 5 over 3. Okay, I'm going to show you a little bit of shortcut. It's always just the opposite of the whatever you have divided by that. Okay? Okay, next one. Six x squared plus 28x minus 10 equals 0. Okay, so I'm going to loop this as a complex trinomial. Okay, and I get negative 60. 160, 2, and 30. I actually think I found what I want already. I'm trying to get 28. Okay, this has to be negative, so one of them is negative. So if I do that, those two multiply to negative 60, they would add to give me 28. Okay, so 1, 6, 2, 3, 1, 10, 2, 5. I'm looking for a 2 and a 30. So I will use that. Here would be my 2, and here would be my 30. Okay, so this would be x, 1x, and 6x. And I'm going to pair my 1x with my 2. And I'm going to pair the 6 with the 5. So there's the 2x and the 30x I was after. And looking at my negative positive criteria, I want this to be negative and this to be positive. So if I want that bracket to be 0, x would be negative 5. And if I want this bracket to be 0, x would have to be, so take the opposite, so positive 2 divided by 6. Or that could just reduce, divide both by 2, 1/3. Okay, I'm just going to quickly talk about something else here. Before you started this, you could have actually GCF'd a 2 out of everything. So if we just try that differently, 2, we get 3x squared plus 14x minus 5. Okay, I'm just going to show you kind of something else here. So I need that, I'm just going to put the 2 in the front. So on this one, I'm going to just do trial and error, because not this long method. So there's only one combination that can get you 3x and 1x. Okay, here and here, There's only one combination that gets you a 5, a 1 and a 5. You just have to figure out, are you putting your 1 here or your 5 here? Okay, where does the 1 go, where does the 5 go? Remember that you're trying to get 14. So I would put the 5 here to get 15x and the 1 there, because that's how I'm getting my 14. So positive 14, so I need positive 15 and negative. So now when I look at the brackets, so this bracket, x would be positive 1 divided by 3. If I look at this bracket, x would have to be negative 5. So same answer. Okay, here's what throws people off. They don't know what to do about this. Well, this is just a coefficient. It's just a multiplier. It's not you solving for anything because it doesn't contain a variable. It doesn't have an x in it.